Welcome back to the Holosky podcast. We are your hosts. I'm Steven.
And Kyle.
And thanks for hanging out with us again on another beginning of the week. Lovely Monday morning. Hope everybody's doing good. Holo Cult. Hopefully by the time this makes it out, the weather's a little bit better than it is now because this last week has been terrible.
Amen.
Kyle's got an interesting case put together. Some simulation stuff.
Yeah, a little true crimey.
Hell yeah. Right up my alley.
Yeah, I think you'll enjoy it.
Good. I dig it. Before we do that, we got to get through all the business. So check us out at all social medias, Facebook, Instagram, YouTube, Twitter, TikTok, Discord, Reddit. Come be part of the Holo Cult. Be part of the community. You know the drill. Just check us out. If you have a paranormal encounter you'd like for us to feature on a future show, Kyle has a bunch of information that you're going to want.
You can write your story out. You can also record yourself on any recording device. Shoot that over to holoskypodcast@gmail.com. You can try to set up an interview with us, which we are kind of backburning for a minute, so just don't get discouraged right away. We're trying to just carve out more time. But that interview or that email is going to be holoskyinterviews@gmail.com, where you can call or text the holophone, which is going to be 1-618-556-0837. All of this information is in the show notes, so you don't have to worry about trying to rewind back to these points. If you want to, just check the show notes and it's all there.
Hell yeah. If you'd like to support the show, there's tons of ways you can do it. We have a Patreon. You can jump over there, check that out. If that's something you're interested in, sign up for that. We have all kinds of extra content and goodies going on over there. We have a Venmo if you'd like to throw us some monster money, some pocket change to supply all of our bad habits. We appreciate you. Best way you can do it is word of mouth. Share the show. Share it on social media. Share it to people who like podcasts, who like creepy shit. You know how it goes. Also, don't forget, on Wednesday nights at 8 p.m., we have the night shift. Come over, hang out in the live chat. It's awesome. The numbers have been growing. We've been steady over 100 the last few shows. It is cool. We take in live listener calls. That's another way you can get your experience out if you'd like to do it live. We have open radio, open mic, open phone lines you guys can check out. Another way is you can go to wherever you listen to podcasts and leave us a rating and review. It really does help get the show out there. I cannot state that enough. If I find it, I will gladly shout you out. Again, I usually use Apple, but that's kind of a pain in the ass because it only shows U.S. reviews and ratings, and it only shows from certain podcatchers. But anyway, I do hunt around sometimes and find some. So today's 5-star rating and review comes to us from our friend Emma in FR. So Emma says, fantastic podcast, one of my go-tos, 5 stars. These guys' stories are absolutely fascinating. I listen in the car and find myself completely hooked to every story. 100% would recommend. Smile emoji from France. All the way from France.
Heck yeah.
Well, here's a smile emoji back from Illinois. Emma in FR. M in France. I don't know what it means, but anyway, thanks for taking the time to leave us a 5-star rating and review. Again, we are totally grateful every time people do this. Like, we appreciate it so much. Our listener experience of the day comes to us submitted on the old website, which I forget about sometimes, but luckily I get email notifications. So, comes to us from our friend Tommy. Personal encounter. Tommy says, what's up, Holo Cult leaders? All right, you guys, I totally dig your podcast. You guys are my favorite, and I've been tuning in every Wednesday for the night shift. Hell yeah, night shift, stand up. I especially like that you two are metalheads. What kind of metal are you all into?
Heavy
metal, good metal. I don't know.
I think a equal staple for us both, a mirror.
Yeah, we do like a mirror.
You know, you pick that genre and branch out in a lot of different directions, but yeah.
Yeah, new metal, death metal.
Yeah, me and Steve are kind of weird like that too, because we'll go back and put Limp Bizkit on.
Yeah. Just heavy music.
Yeah.
Heavy music, like pretty much covers the bases.
I would agree with that sentiment there.
Yeah. So back to Tommy. Anyways, so I'm kind of the guy that nothing paranormal ever happens to. Here's an example. I was working at a courthouse on a parcel scanner, the type that people put bags, purses on to X-ray for X-ray screening. I'm finishing up doing my paperwork and minding my own business. At the time, the courthouse was in off session, and there was nothing going on. I was by myself. The faculty's guy, maybe a clerk, were the only people in the building. So I was on my computer, and this lady comes from the clerk's office with a really confused look on her face. I thought she was about to ask me what I was doing or something when she asked me, "Are you talking to somebody?" And I'm like, "No, it's just me. Why?" She says, "For the past few minutes, it sounded as if there was a conversation going on out here between you and a female. Like as if I was talking to a lady and that they were looking for something." She thought that I was talking to somebody. I said, "Nope, just me, and nobody's been here for a few minutes." She proceeds to say that the courthouse is supposedly haunted and whatnot. I got no creepy vibes when I was there, and again, no creepy vibes come to me because nothing happens to me at all. But here is a crazy story that belongs to my grandmother. This happened when she was a young girl, maybe 8 years old or so. So this was probably around the 1940s. Her parents went out for the evening with her new baby sister, Lupe, to show off her to some friends and have dinner. Her mother's half-brother, Manuel, came into town from Mexico while looking for work or something and offered to watch the kids for the night for the new parents. So it was my grandmother and her siblings with her uncle. At some point, they were very upset and worried when their parents would be back because it was late and they didn't quite know this Uncle Manuel. He gathered them around and said that he was able to check on their parents. They were perplexed on this, and he proceeded to say that he can tell them himself. So he said that he had a friend when he was younger, and they were able to talk to spirits, or they were able to talk remotely. I'm not sure exactly. But his friend died when they were young, and he was still able to communicate with them. She said he sat in a chair, closed his eyes, and another man's voice came through, introduced himself, and said, "Do not be afraid. I am... I don't remember the exact name, but Manuel wishes for me to find your parents." He sat there, and then in her mother's voice came through Manuel and said, "Do not be worried. We are fine, and we will be home soon," or something along those lines. I guess they all listened, and it was uneventful after that. When the parents came home, my great-grandmother was very upset with her half-brother and scaring the children, and she didn't want him ever to come back. Well, my grandmother never saw him again. Here's the kicker. Early last year, I was asking my great-aunt Wilma about this story, and she's my grandmother's older sister. I asked her about the encounter and questioning my grandmother just in case she was telling a ghost story. She told, "This is how my grandmother said." And I asked, "Do you know that he wasn't just lying or blowing smoke?" She exclaimed that the half-brother Manuel never spoke English. So there you go, my fearless holocult leaders. What do you think? A clever play on some kids or some real deal astral projection? My grandmother and her sisters swear that it really happened. So what I'm taking from this is that the half-brother who didn't speak English as he was channeling was speaking English.
Yeah.
So that in itself...
And then they even said
wild.
that his voice would change.
Yeah. And that the grandmother's voice came, or that the mother's voice came through as well.
That would blow me away.
That is nuts.
Kind of side note, because this is a fantastic story, but my wife used to say that her dad would speak Spanish in his sleep, and he didn't know how to speak Spanish.
That
he used to do it all the time.
That's crazy.
Now, given, my wife's mom is, Mexican / Native American. So he does have a tie to that world there. But, by all accounts, my wife would be like, no, he doesn't know how to speak Spanish, but he does it in his sleep. It's pretty weird.
You hear stories of people that have traumatic incidents, like struck by lightning or go in a coma, and they'll wake up and be fully fluent in a language that they did not have any contact with or have any knowledge of before they...
How is that even possible? Other than, the only way that would make sense to me is having done it in a past life or something. Because outside of that, what's the explanation?
Right? What is the brain?
Dude, I don't know.
It is...
I don't know. Unless we do live in a simulation and
They
it
just
short circuited them, and now they
downloaded it.
yeah they're
uploaded it.
They're an NPC from a different area.
Dude, I don't know. It is weird. The fact that the voice even changed sexes,
Dude,
essentially.
that's what would trip me up the most.
And for it to be noticeable enough for them to be like, yeah, that's my mom's voice.
Yeah, that would trip me up bad.
It's fucked up. It is. But Tommy, thanks again for taking the time to send in your grandmother's experience and your courthouse experience. We definitely appreciate it.
Yeah.
It is some high strangeness there for sure.
It's awesome.
I don't have an explanation. With that being said, we're going to roll into this true crimey simulation goodness that Kyle has put together for all of us on this wonderful Monday morning.
Yeah. So I'm going to preface this with a couple of things. As you can tell, I'm kind of semi-recovering from a cold / coughing, so
Your
I apologize.
voice is very deep and sultry today.
Yeah, it's because I've been coughing so much trying to get this shit out. But and actually Thursday I had no voice. I couldn't even talk. But
that's terrible.
Yeah, it was bad. But Troy on Instagram sent this over to me, and it caught my attention enough to where I was like, all right, I'm looking into it, because who doesn't like a good simulation story?
Word.
Yeah, and then he brought it up on the night shift, and I was like, yep, I'm writing about it, so don't worry about that. But so here we go. It involves, the main character here is Erin Valenti, and a little background on her. She was born in 1986 in New York. It seemed by all accounts throughout her life, she was an extremely bright person, almost extraordinarily so. She graduated with honors from Georgetown University with a degree in business administration. She started off as a venture capitalist investor and led investments in the communication and tech sectors at Summit Partners, a $20 billion fund. After leaving Summit Partners, she started Skycrane, a springboard accelerator portfolio company, and work for Hire Marketplace. From there, she joins Overstock.com as the head of product development, where she oversaw over 250 engineers. She also had a hand in forming the international corporate venture capital group of Overstock called Medici Ventures. In 2011, she met a Harrison Weinstein, a psychologist that moved to Salt Lake City, Utah, or they both ended up moving to Salt Lake City, Utah. Together, they founded Tinker Ventures. Erin had a global team of over 120 employees. They built more than 700 products, including mobile apps, whatever this means, SaaS apps, tech-enabled marketplaces, and consumer websites. In 2019, Erin actually won the Women's Tech Award. Her company was a specialist in development of wristbands that connect brains to computers. It was a partnership with a startup called Control Labs, CTRL-Labs, which this company had actually just been purchased by Facebook at an estimated cost of anywhere from $500 million to $1 billion. So I would assume whatever they're working on is going to directly have ties to the metaverse.
Yeah, she sounds very well versed in that whole area as far as media and communication and everything goes.
Right.
She sounds like she's got her fingers in all of it.
Exactly. So the company of Control Labs, the founder told the public that his company would help realize the dream of connecting our brains with computers in the near future. So he's basically saying at some point in the near future, we'll be able to control our computers with our minds. A few statements here by Control Labs. Control Labs will connect your nervous system to your technology and allow your brain to send commands through the muscles in your arm. It's so sensitive you don't even have to move your arm or hand to make it work. The controller just gets the idea. Another one here. The future of brain-machine interfaces is non-invasive. Instead of surgical implants, control labs use state-of-the-art detection and machine learning to read your neurons from outside the body. The first step will be technology precisely picking up the signals from inside your body to control the devices. Outside of it with little more than natural gestures. The next step, and we are already closer than most people realize, will be reading the intention directly from your brain. Which, right there, I mean, you can take a massive crack as to who they plan on going head-to-head with.
Yeah, that's what I was just going to say.
Yeah. They're going right at Elon.
If something happens, we know who the prime suspect is.
Right. So, Tinker Ventures even put out a tweet suggestion that was something it said, mind control equals neurocontrol. The future of brain-machine interfaces is non-invasive, but they were seemingly working on a way for machines to replicate through our thought. Erin was so excited about all of this. She, she was excited about partnering up with Control Labs. So she ended up scheduling herself a couple refresher workshops to more or less hone her skills. Erin was set to fly from Salt Lake City to Orange County on October 1st, 2019, to attend the Create the Powerful seminar. Stay for 2 days, then roll out to Silicon Valley to meet up with some ex-colleagues. Then catching a flight back home on the 7th to attend the Women's Tech Awards. Apparently, every day during her trip, she would call and kind of check in with her husband or family. And every time she would call, she was, by all accounts, excited as to what she's learned and how excited she was to get back home and start implementing some of these new ideas into the workplace. On October 7th, after having dinner with a friend, Erin called her mother, letting her know she had just finished dinner and would be driving to the airport. But as Erin went out to where she parked the car, apparently her car wasn't there, which is extremely weird.
Yeah, that is bizarre.
It gets weirder, though, because as she's on the phone with her mom, she tells her mom, "Don't worry, I'll find it shortly." So right off the rip here, you'd think, okay, with the car not being there, did the car get stolen? Did it get towed? However, this changes as she states to her mother she'd be able to find the car soon, which makes no fucking sense to me whatsoever.
No, she doesn't. The way it's perceived is that she has like no sense of urgency. She's not worried about it.
Yeah.
Like, oh, my car was here. Now it's not. But
It's
I'll
okay.
find it.
Yeah, it's okay. Doesn't make any sense.
Yeah, it's bizarre.
Now, minutes later, she finds the car. But the weirdness continues. As she gets into the car, she starts mumbling on how she had just filled it up with gas, and now it's completely out of gas.
Oh, that's fucking weird.
So much so that she was afraid she's not even going to be able to make it to the airport. So I would assume if that's true, she ends up going and getting gas and making her way to the airport. Over the next few hours, Erin's mother and son-in-law, which is going to be Erin's husband, they are kind of in constant contact with her. Phone call here, phone call there. She explained to them, this is Erin talking to her mother and husband. She explains to them, it's all a game. It's a thought experiment. We're in the Matrix. She also explains, like, humanity is legitimately at risk because of what is happening. After this phone call, the one where she says we're living in a Matrix, they were no longer able to contact her. So her husband ended up setting up a Help Find Erin Valenti Facebook page.
Was this okay? Hang on. When this happened, was she still in Utah?
No, she's in
California.
California.
So she'd already made the trip. And
Yeah, she had done the workshops.
okay.
Like I said, she was excited about them.
Yeah.
And then I think it was essentially her last day. She was meeting up with a friend for dinner. And then right after that dinner, she was going to get on a plane and fly home.
Yeah, I got you there. So that is weird.
Right?
She's at a place she is not familiar with.
Yep.
Her lack of concern is alarming.
Absolutely. Until she's driving, because her concern obviously starts to ramp up as she's driving, and she starts to explain that we're living in the Matrix.
Yeah, what?
Oh, it gets weirder. It's not done.
The whole thing it seems off from the get-go, man.
Yeah, and you can tell she's an extremely smart woman.
Yeah.
And extremely achieved woman, very dedicated, and one would even argue she is very disciplined, because to achieve what she's achieved, you have to be a disciplined person.
Laser focused.
Absolutely, 100%.
That is weird.
So she's no slouch by any means. It's impossible to be CEOs of companies and do everything she's accomplished. You're not a slouch.
It doesn't happen by accident.
Exactly. So like I was saying, at this point, they can't make contact with her. Nobody knows where she's at. So her husband creates Help Find Erin Valenti Facebook page. There were about 1,500 people who turned out for the search for her. One of the volunteers discovered the car a half mile from her last known location. But supposedly, the night she was making weird phone calls, a police officer went and drove around San Jose looking for her and was unable to find anything. Erin never made it home. After 5 days of police search and an online campaign releasing rental car info, on October 12th, her body was found in the back seat of the car, parked only 3 to 4 blocks away from where her phone was located, which her being in the back seat is obviously suspicious. To me, it obviously initially suggests that someone drove her to the location and left, leaving her in the back seat, because it's going to be too risky to move someone from the back seat to the front seat.
Oh yeah, and they found her phone first.
No, I don't believe. No, they found her from where that last phone call was pinged.
I got you. That's weird.
And it's just a bizarre set of circumstances. Apparently, the car was parked on a street in the middle of a suburb in Almaden, which is south of San Jose, California, but the police were somehow unable to find it for some time. It's even weirder because no one seemed to even notice the car on the street, and they even interviewed some of the homeowners on that street. And one of the homeowners was like, "It's weird because we're a pretty tight-knit community here." And so I picture a nice little suburb road, right? And all the homeowners, they say hi to each other in the morning like we do on these nice streets. And he's like, no one here noticed that car. No one noticed that car.
That's weird.
Seemingly for 5 days, right? And if you've been living on your street for any amount of time, you notice cars right?
Oh, yeah.
You notice when a weird car is parked on the side of the road.
Yeah.
You're like, well, maybe they're there visiting Steve. But after that car's been there, and it's been there, it's been there, it's very weird. Erin's body had no signs of physical harm or suicide. An autopsy confirmed that her physical condition was normal. It also was apparently known that Erin did not take any drugs and she did not drink that anybody knew of. Some people say it seems to be convoluted. Some people said she might have had a mental disorder, but nothing concrete has come out about that. And now, to be fair here, I feel like if anyone is going to know, it's going to be her husband, because he's literally a psychologist.
Yeah.
right? And he's made statements. He's like, no, she did not have any type of mental illness at all. Her parents believe, and this is kind of being projected, I feel like, but her parents believe she suffered from a severe manic episode. Her father described her as talking a mile a minute, and how she wasn't making sense. The Valenti family is claiming the police more or less botched the search. They said despite giving the police all the information possible, such as make and model of the car, including the license plate and data tracking the last location of her last cell phone call, the police department didn't file a missing persons report until Thursday.
And she went missing Monday night.
I think so, yeah.
Oh yeah, that's not a good look.
No.
Man, that is so weird. And they didn't have any cause of death.
No. And the police initially do what I feel like lazy ones do, and they described her as voluntarily missing for a while.
Weird, of course. Anytime a person over 18 goes missing, they're like, they could just walk away.
Yep.
So that's a lot easier for us to write that down than having to go look for somebody.
Exactly. Another thing that is pretty odd is the area. I basically already went through this, but she was found in a small community, one of the streets where everybody knows each other. Like I said, nobody remembers the car being there. Nobody acknowledges the car until it gets found by the search party. Another strange aspect of all of this is that the rental vehicle she had, and keep in mind, I believe this happened, I want to say around 2019. The rental vehicle she had did not have any form of GPS system in it.
That's strange.
It's very weird. It obviously doesn't mean that something weird's going on. It could have been a smaller company she rented the vehicle from, but man, does it not make sense to not have a GPS device in rental cars.
Yeah. I wonder if the rest of the cars at the rental had GPS. I wonder if it was if it's a strange one-off that makes it even more sus.
Right.
You know what I mean?
Because that's bad. That's bad for business.
Yeah, it's people could just drive away with your car.
That's what I'm saying.
And clearly the cops can't find it. I mean, they had descriptions of it and everything. They couldn't narrow it down. What did she say about the Matrix? Like it was
It's all a thought experiment. It's just a game.
Yeah, what the fuck does that mean?
I don't know, man.
Is it like her whole existence is a thought experiment? Because I mean, if you step outside the box and look at it all from a point of view that it is a simulation, that would kind of account for nobody noticing the car,
right?
And then it just showing up.
Oh, I mean, we'll get there because I have some fun connections.
Okay. I'm just sitting here mulling over this.
Yeah, that's why I had to look into it because it's so weird. It's so thought provoking. Now, ironically enough, people were also kind of chucking this out there. There was another CEO who was targeted in the area named Tashar Art. He died at age 50. CEO of a web design company known as ArtNet. He was found dead in his vehicle hours after reportedly being kidnapped during a home robbery. So there's two CEOs strange. Dead within 30 days.
That takes a different turn.
Right. In the 2019, the CEO of Overstock, Patrick Bryan, resigned after issuing a statement where he claimed to be involved in political espionage. Erin worked for Overstock.
What?
There was also an eco-terrorist group known as Individualists Trending Towards the Wild. They apparently claimed to be responsible for the death of Erin and Tashar. although there is no evidence that they are the ones that did this. It could have just been a dumb group chasing clout, essentially.
Oh yeah, making them seem more threatening than they really are.
Yeah, because I've never heard of that at all, ever.
That is bizarre, man.
But the little eco-terrorist group here dropped a statement which reads, "Wishing death to all civilization. Our group of extremists happily murdered 2 tech executives in the West Coast, Tashara Art and Erin Valenti. We conducted the killings for no other reason than the symbolism of seeing 2 flimsy appendages of the techno-industrial system laying first in agony and then motionless before us."
Just sounds like a couple edgelords.
Yeah.
Taking credit for whatever.
Yeah. I mean, and if you're going to take credit for it, prove it.
Yeah,
right?
Exactly.
Because if they can't find anything on the autopsy report at all,
yeah,
no chemicals in her system, no abrasions, no anything. And then you mean to tell me you killed 2 CEOs, which are high-profile people. They're not going to be easy to get your hands on for the average person. But let's say you do. Okay? You kidnap one in a home invasion. So that means you probably tied him up or held him at gunpoint and went off with him. But the other one here, you magicked them.
Yeah, left. And I mean, even if they claim... Even if they claim that they did have something to do with Erin's disappearance and subsequent death, it doesn't explain all the weirdness prior to that.
No.
It doesn't explain her mental, like, manicness on the phone. I guess they could have taken her car and drove it around until there was no gas and then park it somewhere close by or something.
Yeah.
Some shit like that, but it doesn't sound like it's likely. And I'm kind of like I always do. I pull up little tidbits.
Well, I mean, that would have been a long. If you think about it, she would have had to been in dinner for a long time.
Yeah.
To waste that much gas.
Because they said here. It says the East Bay Times reported that at the request of the family, a San Jose police officer had actually contacted Valenti by phone Monday night. The officer said she wasn't making any sense. They drove around looking for her Monday night and never found her, Weinstein told the newspaper. So the cops actually called her and was on the phone with her.
Yeah, that's what I said. They drove around San Jose looking for her, and they could not find her.
Yeah. So you would think if she was being held captive by eco-terrorist group, they wouldn't let the cops call and talk to her.
Right. Exactly.
And it also said that her mother they said that we talked to her for hours on and off Monday night.
Yep.
So that doesn't make any sense at all.
No, none of this makes sense.
States her thoughts were disconnected. She talked to Mile a minute. She said she'd say, "I'm coming home for Thanksgiving," and then the next she would say she was in the Matrix.
Very scatterbrained.
Yeah, almost like she had possibly been like drugged at dinner, maybe.
Maybe. I mean, anything's on the table.
Like I have these eco-terrorist nerds popping in, like, yeah, we did it.
Yeah,
we're totally
I think they were just clout chasing, to be honest with you.
Responsible for all this nefarious shit. So
right.
We're gonna destroy the entire human race, one CEO tech at a time.
Yeah. Well, good luck with that, buddy.
Shut up, nerds.
Let us know how that goes. Now, as far as Erin goes, they did release some information about her death in February of 2020. According to autopsy reports, she died of natural causes from a manic episode. So that'd be what they're officially going for. She did have a thyroid condition, but that was treated with medication. The report noted it could have contributed to her death. However, blood samples were not satisfactory for analysis. Also, the medical examiner's office said that judging by some of her last conversations, I assume from email, text, etc., the phone calls, she did show signs of a manic episode. They conclude that her death was due to bipolar disorder, which one can only assume unless there's other things that I don't know, but they're kind of concluding that she kills herself. Because, bipolar disorder, you're going to have high highs and real low lows.
In the manic phase of we are not psychologists. We do not know anything. We're just pulling this off of the internet here. So do not come after us. This is just looking up what happens during the severe manic episode. In the manic phase of bipolar disorder, it is common to experience feelings of heightened energy, creativity, and euphoria. If you're experiencing a manic episode, you may talk a mile a minute, sleep very little, and be hyperactive. You may also feel like you're all-powerful, invincible, or destined for greatness.
That doesn't sound like what she was going through. It would be on the other end of the spectrum.
Causes of hypomania or mania. I was just looking to see if...
How does it kill you?
Yeah, that's what I was looking.
Like, does it stroke you out, heart attack? But then they'd be able to see that in
you would think so.
Autopsy.
It being labeled as just a manic episode is very strange. Psychiatry Online. Fatal cases of acute manic depressive psychosis. No, that doesn't tell me anything here, so I have to be able to log in. Never mind. Yeah.
Well, I'm sure there's somebody out there who'll point us in the right direction.
Yeah. Again, because we're just trying to look this up and figure it out, since they cited that it was as a result of a manic episode
tied to the bipolar disorder.
So I'm like, this isn't tied together, but I'm searching death from a manic episode. It says Alyssa Lamb, the woman that was found in the
we were just talking about her.
Cecil Hotel water tank, is most likely her cause of death is most likely a manic episode she had, so she accidentally killed herself.
I don't see how that's possible.
Yeah, because her cause of death would essentially be drowning.
Yeah.
They didn't label anything else for Erin. They didn't say she had a heart attack. They didn't say she had an aneurysm or embolism or anything like that. Just,
exactly. And then, like I said,
weird.
As far as mental issues go, her husband should at least be on to them. You know what I mean? So why? You
would think so.
Yes, you would think that being a psychiatrist, he would be on to him. But you would ask yourself, why would this information, if she really did have a mental disorder, why bury it? Why hide it? Well, it could be a couple of things. The most obvious, public image, right? Keeping her image clean. Wouldn't want people to think differently of her. Another one, which I don't know much about, what if it had to do with like a life insurance policy?
That's strange.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Because I don't know the stipulations behind it. Do you get life insurance if you kill yourself? Or it's ruled that if you kill yourself?
I don't think so.
Yeah, I wouldn't think so either.
But I also don't know.
It is apparently pretty common for CEOs to have mental disorders, which kind of makes sense. But apparently, I can't remember the exact statistic, but it was a pretty alarming amount of CEOs do have some type of mental disorder. But it's not surprising because of how crazy driven they are and relentless they can be.
Yeah.
Another question to all of this, I'll never get the answer because Erin's not with us anymore. But I try to use logic when I observe some of this stuff. And, take Erin's background. She worked a lot in tech. She was working on things to integrate humans with machines. that Control Lab just got bought out by Facebook, which, like I said, almost guarantees that the tech they're working on is going to be implemented into the metaverse. But when she's having this manic episode, and she starts going on about the Matrix and going on about how we're living in it, et cetera, et cetera, one would think, at least me, using my logic, that her brain would go on about things she's familiar with and that she thinks often about. So if she's not a person that kind of has this in her head, the possibility of us living in a matrix, why does her brain go to this while she's having a manic episode? You know what I'm trying to say here?
Yeah.
Because if she's not living in the world of French fries, then why, when she has this panic attack, does her brain focus on French fries?
Yeah.
It doesn't make sense, because your brain should almost go, logically, your brain goes to what you know. Even if you're just spouting out of your ass and it's all just chaos coming out, it should still be in reference to what you know, not what you don't know.
Yeah.
So I find that interesting. A few other interesting things here. There have been other people who suggest we live in a simulation. Elon Musk, he's made statements on the topic.
Lots of massive brains have.
Saying it's a 1 to billion chance that we live in reality as we know it. The odds are astronomically high that we live in a simulation. If you assume any rate of improvement at all, then the games will become indistinguishable from reality. Even if that rate of advancement drops by 1,000 from what it is now, then you just say, okay, let's imagine it's 10,000 years into the future, which is nothing on the evolutionary scale. I think this was another one by him. So given that we're clearly on trajectory to have games that are indistinguishable from reality, and those games could be played on any set-top box or a PC or whatever, and there would probably be billions of such computers or set-top boxes, it would seem to follow that the odds that we are in a base reality is 1 in billions. There was an Oxford professor named Nick Bostrom who wrote a paper in 2001 arguing that by his calculations, we are most likely living in a giant simulation ran by a massive supercomputer. Quoting, "We are almost certainly characters living in a computer simulation." A computer scientist named Rizwan Dirk also proposed a theory that we are in the video game of life. You can think of it like a high-resolution or high-fidelity video game in which we are all characters, he said. So it seems that some of the smartest people out there are also coming to the conclusion that it's at least possible we live in a simulation. That's also not to mention, as we've suggested times before, it could be possible that we are a petri dish for something else, which could still be considered, in my opinion, a simulation to a degree. Right? If you have alien overlords that added whatever they needed to add to the planet to start creating life, it's still a simulation to a degree.
Yeah. It's just not a computer simulation.
Right.
It's a life simulation.
But when it comes to this particular case with Erin here, you haven't ever watched The Matrix, have you?
No.
Okay, so, and I know this isn't critically thinking, but I do find it ironic.
Clearly, we're not known for our critical thinking.
Right. So in the movie The Matrix, your real body is living in a pod filled with all this goo, right? You got all these things hooked up to you, and you have a jack in the back of your head. Right, imagine like a cable line gets plugged into the back of your head, and that feeds you into the Matrix, this world that's created by computers. Well, it's funny because in the Matrix, let's say you're in the Matrix right now, Steve, and I'm looking at the jack in the back of your head. And somebody's talking to you in the Matrix, but I'm outside it, and I pull that jack out of your head while you're still jacked in, you just fall over dead. No reason. Right?
I got you.
None. It just, you fall over dead. You're done.
Unplugged.
You're out. You're unplugged.
Interesting.
And like I said, I'm not saying this is what happened.
But she
right?
mentioned it.
But it's kind of weird, right?
And she fell out in a similar fashion.
Right. It's very weird.
It is strange.
You know, because there's obviously a lot of sus around her situation, man.
Yes.
And don't get me wrong. Could she have been drugged, had some type of adverse reaction, driven to the neighborhood she drove to, being lost and confused, climbed in the back seat, and died? Sure. Why not? But logically thinking here, it would more or less seem like somebody drove her somewhere and then after one night drove the car up onto that street and left.
Yeah. And the fact that nobody noticed the car until essentially it was found. And
which was like upwards of 5 days later.
So my brain's going on a totally different tangent here. So I'm just going to roll with it.
You might as well.
Okay, so what super life altering event happened in 2020?
COVID.
What did we see happen in 2019?
All the CEO executives rolling out.
Mass exodus of CEO.
Yeah.
2019 had the most CEO departures on record with more than 1,600. A staggering 1,640 CEOs left their posts in 2019. The highest year on record since they began tracking in 2002. I wonder, like my conspiracy brain kind of goes off. Maybe did she know something that all these other CEOs knew? And as she hits, maybe she was trying to tell us something when she was on the phone. Like it's all just in the Matrix. It's all
Yeah, because that, I mean, if going the angle you're playing, it could have been, what would you call that? Just kind of like, almost like a tongue-in-cheek type thing. You know what I'm saying? Like,
yeah.
Because essentially, if you're running that angle, you could put the World Economic Forum is the one running the thought experiment. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, they are setting the parameters to this experiment. And they've even said America is its own experiment, essentially, you know, the way we run the democracy and all this shit.
Yeah. And I mean, she was at a meeting filled with other CEOs.
Right.
When she died.
And some people claim...
So to tell me that all these people didn't know something before this came down the line and just decimated everybody and, you know, in all sorts of different ways, you're not going to tell me these people, these higher ups, whether whoever they are, did not see it coming and were not trying to bail out before everything fucking took a shit.
Yeah, right. It's like I said, it's a really weird case.
And it just seems like when they found their body, they're just like, man,
yeah,
we're not worried about it.
Yeah, exactly.
Don't look into it. Because again, I want to stress, we are not psychologists. We do not know anything about mental disorder, specifically bipolar disorder,
right.
As far as how that goes. We are just curious as to them labeling her cause of death a manic episode. You know, because you would think if it was a heart attack induced by a manic episode, they would state that.
Yeah.
If it was stroke induced by a manic episode, they would state that. It just seems,
which would make sense.
Yeah, seems suspicious to me that they just noted it as death results from possible manic episode. Well, what the fuck does that mean?
Exactly. And I mean, I wouldn't doubt that there'd be plenty of reasons to want Erin dead. Because if she's working on, you got to think, man, like that technology
Oh,
that those people,
it's the future.
bro, you're talking unlimited amounts of money.
Yeah. Yeah.
And so that is more than enough reason for other CEOs to try to clip her.
Yeah.
More than enough reason.
100%.
Right? So that's still on the table. But the whole shebang around it is what makes it so unique and so thought-provoking, because there's just so many oddities in that case. It makes it sound sus, man. It makes it sound sus.
Yeah. And I mean, her family says that all of her behavior was so out of character that they, like, it was enough for them to notice.
Yeah.
To note it. Like,
and that's why they kept trying to get a hold of her, and because they knew something was wrong. From that first phone call, they knew something was going on. They knew something was out of normal.
So this, okay, say she was having a manic episode. This makes me wonder if her car really was moved. Did she just think she parked it somewhere and then it wasn't? Did she really fuel it up when she thought she fueled it up?
Absolutely. That's definitely plausible. You know, maybe she thought she fueled, like had plans to get fuel for it, but got so distracted and carried away with the schedule, with all this stuff, that maybe she forgot.
Yeah.
And just thought that she had gotten fuel.
Dude, I do not know. It's so weird.
But I cannot wrap my brain around the fact that she says, "My car's gone. Don't worry, I'll find it shortly."
Yeah.
It does not make sense at all.
Oh, are they going to make me pay for this? Cause of death found. Cause of death has been identified. Autopsy report determines an acute manic episode.
Yeah, that's all I found.
Natural causes following acute manic episode. What does that mean?
I don't know, dude. I don't know.
Is my brain just not making the connections?
I mean, the only thing I could...
It sounds like a very broad brush that they painted here.
Yeah. Because I could understand, like we were talking about, I could understand your stress levels getting so high that it stresses your heart and your heart gives out on you.
The autopsy, which Business Insider has reviewed, ruled her manner of death natural and said the cause was sudden death in the setting of an acute manic episode, though it did not explain what killed the 33-year-old tech founder.
And she's 33 on top of all that.
So they essentially did not explain how she died.
Yeah. The way I take it is they have no idea and they just put something down.
We don't know, or we're not telling you.
Yeah. Right. And it's just, dude, it is, like I said, it's one of them cases you look at and you're like, all right, this is fucking weird.
No evidence of foul play. Negative for prescription or recreational drug.
Yeah, by all accounts, she comes back clean.
Yeah.
It doesn't make sense.
No, the only thing that they said was her thyroid condition,
which was treated with medicine.
Blood samples were not satisfactory for analysis as far as trying to determine whether that had something to do with it. Dude, that's so strange.
Lots of red flags, man.
Yeah. I don't know. I do not know.
But you can't argue the fact, like I said, the first phone call, the fact that nobody remembers that car being on their street for 5 days.
It's weird too. It seems I don't know.
It was found,
I don't know,
by one of 1,500 online searchers, which I don't know the details of that either. I would assume he gave them the last location she was found.
And someone put boots on the ground.
But what's crazy is that theoretically, if you have a starting location from where she was last found, and you put 1,500 people on the block looking, it took them 5 days to get 3 to 4 blocks away.
And this says a friend found her. A friend and a volunteer search party found Valenti's body in her rental car on a quiet residential street where the gray Nissan Murano had been parked for 5 days. That seems sus to me, too.
It's weird, man. The whole thing is weird.
It is weird. I don't know.
I think at the very least, like, it comes down to either she figured something out or she was meddling in something that had the attention of a lot of other people, and they didn't want her moving forward with it.
Yeah, that is definitely
Because being in the world of tech, like, and they always say, like, tech is far more advanced than we have. You know what I mean? Like, we're 50 years more advanced than what we have.
Yeah.
And I mean, dude, if Facebook gets involved, like they rumored to have paid upwards to $1 billion for that tech. They're doubling the fuck down on that.
Yeah. We know these people have to have money to just throw away.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like Elon bought Twitter so he could try to get people to like him.
Right.
You know? It's that money's not really an issue.
No.
Unless they can make more of it.
And they doubled down on her.
It's a thought experiment. That part, like...
Yeah, because Matrix could have just been a word to describe it.
Yeah, it's all a thought experiment.
Yeah, because it doesn't give details on what is the thought experiment. And maybe, like I said, maybe Matrix was just a description word.
Yeah, just the first thing her mind could akin it to was...
Right, yeah, absolutely.
It's so weird because if she would have taken her own life, they would have noted it.
Yes. And there was no defensive wounds. There was no anything on her neck. There was nothing. Absolutely nothing. They cannot explain as to what killed her. No. They just found her 5 days after she went missing.
It sounds like she was in relatively good health because they skied and hiked and did all sorts of stuff. I don't know, man. I got nothing. Me
either. It's a weird one, dude. It's a weird one.
It is strange.
But I got a lot of my information.
When you did the Unplug the Matrix thing, I was like, holy shit.
It is definitely weird. I got a lot of my information from UFOholic.com, Blame It on Jorge on YouTube, Reality Decoded, Medium.com, Spearmint.com, something like that. But yeah, you guys want to look into it more? Those are some of the sites I used. And like I said, it's a bizarre case. Bizarre case.
We don't delve into the world of true crime much.
No, these are the true crime ones that I can get behind.
Yeah.
That just are straight up mysterious. I don't like the ones with this show the absolute worst facets of humans. But these ones are weird, man. They make my brain hurt.
It almost makes you wonder if maybe she was dabbling in some other stuff.
Well, supposedly them giant seminars, supposedly they are very culty.
It's
like they have brainwashing tactics in them and all types of shit.
There's just so many red flags.
There's a lot.
Yeah, I don't know. But anyway, Holocult, if anybody has any theories that they like to put forward or know anything about just a manic episode being a cause of death, please reach out to us and let us know. That being said, our thoughts go out to Erin's family. What a weird case. But check us out at all social medias: Facebook, Instagram, YouTube, Twitter, TikTok, Discord, Reddit. Come be part of the Holocult. And until next Monday, stay safe out there. Stay weird out there. And don't trust big tech.